Child's body in an apartment complex dumpster. With another day in Baltimore comes yet another senseless killing. This time the victim only 9 years old.
The body was discovered in a dumpster at the Murphy Homes public housing complex. News Channel 2's Randy Page has details for us. Randy?
Beverly, around noon today, some detectives from the Missing Persons Unit were waiting in their car at Murphy Homes for some officers to arrive so they could conduct a door-to-door search for a missing 9-year-old girl. Well, one of the officers noticed some dumpsters in front of the car, and he thought while he was waiting, he might as well take a look. Inside the middle dumpster, the officer discovered the body of the missing 9-year-old girl. Police are not releasing the apparent cause of death, but they do say the little girl was murdered. Police say she was last seen around noon yesterday, which would make LaJuan Hughes one of the last known people to see the little girl alive.
When we seen her, she was getting on the elevator, and this was about 1 o'clock.
And was she with other kids?
Yeah.
And what were they doing?
Playing on the elevator.
Hughes says the children in the complex have been frightened by a strange man who's been chasing them down the hallways and into stairway exits for the past couple of days.
A man been chasing us for 2 days straight, and up and down the hallways, and I want to know why the police didn't do nothing before. Why
what exactly did the kids tell you about this man?
That a man been chasing them. They go in the house and tell their mother whatever. They called the police. They say they called the police. Yeah. I want to know why the police didn't do nothing, until now. It's too late now.
One little girl, who we are not identifying, says she is so afraid of this man that she's having nightmares.
I had a dream when I went on the exit, this man is next, and when I looked again, I saw all his blood everywhere.
The name of the victim is not being identified at this hour because family has not yet been notified. The little girl is from New York, and she was visiting her sister here, and the little girl's parents in New York have not yet been told of their daughter's murder. Stan?
Randy, is there any indication with the way she died into what type of an attack this was?
Blind since infancy, Robert Nolan has been fending for himself for a long time. But tonight, the self-proclaimed community activist may be facing the biggest challenge of his life. Nolan was apparently the target of a shooting Monday night, a shooting that left his house scarred by bullets.
It couldn't be random because they sat there and they shot deliberately. It wasn't anybody in a car riding past. These people stood outside and took aim.
Nolan's wife and 4 children were also home at the time of the shooting. In fact, it took 3 stitches to close a wound Mrs. Nolan suffered after stepping on shattered glass.
I believe they shot through my front window, and it went into here and went right on through to my dining room.
The Nolans believe the shooting was prompted by a drug raid earlier Monday night at a house just 2 doors away.
They were saying, probably that their usual names that they call me, that blind MF and that blind 5-0, he probably had something to do with this.
Sam Thomas lives next door to the Nolans. While he supports his neighbor, Thomas admits he's afraid for his wife and 5 children.
My wife came upstairs 20 minutes before it happened, and they could have shot my wife. And never know who they're going to shoot. And it don't make no sense.
Despite the attack, the Nolans have vowed to fight on. Mr. Nolan chairs a crime deterrent committee in his community and has planned a candlelight vigil for Monday night.
I do know this, that although I'm afraid for my family, I won't be pushed that way or run out by people that I haven't done nothing to, by hoodlums.
I'm going to stick with my husband. Whatever he wants to do, I'm 100% behind him.
Even if it means putting your life at jeopardy?
Yes.
A lot of people came by my house yesterday that had been afraid to come out, but they expressed their anger and their disgust at what happened to me, and they have indicated that from now on they will be out and they will join us.
Mr. Nolan actually believes some good can come from this incident. He believes his neighbors will realize that the only way they can take back their community is by standing together. In Baltimore, Terry Owens, News Channel 2.
A Korean grocer in a high-crime area of the city has the support of his neighborhood today. Young Pak shot and killed an armed robber Saturday. Then his store was the target of a firebomb Sunday. Police say the firebombing of BNK Food Market could have been retaliation for Saturday's shooting. But residents in this Pimlico neighborhood had only praise for Pak as they waited for his store to reopen.
I think the whole thing was justified. You know, when a robbery's committed, you're supposed to expect what you get.
He gets along with everybody. If you're a couple of pennies, you know, some change short, he'll let you go, you know, till later, you know. And he's like part of the family, being in the area for so long.
Pack's grocery store has been a mainstay for Pimlico residents for more than 11 years. Randy.
Well, Beverly, it didn't take very long, only 90 minutes of deliberation. The jury came back with a verdict of guilty on all counts. Guilty of assault with the intent to elude arrest, guilty of possession of heroin with the intention to distribute, and guilty of conspiring to distribute heroin. It's been a long day for the jury, which began this morning as the jury listened to the closing arguments from both sides in the case. Officer James Young listened from his wheelchair in the front row of the courtroom, while Sean Little sat expressionless at the defense table. The officer impaired for life, and the man who prosecutors say should be held accountable for the injuries. In his closing arguments, Prosecutor Donald Giblin told the jury it's a simple case of a drug dealer who was unwilling to be placed under arrest. Sean Little didn't want to spend one day in jail, not one, the prosecutor said. That's why Little struggled with Officer Young on the third floor of the Flaghouse Court public housing high-rise, the prosecutor contends. And in the process of that struggle, Officer Young was shot with his own gun. The prosecutor is asking the jury to find Little guilty of assault with the intent to elude arrest and drug violations. But defense attorney Jack Rubin told the jury his client struggled and ran because he thought Officer Young was going to kill him. This is a case about dying or surviving, the defense attorney said. He runs to survive. He runs to stay alive. That's the uncontroverted evidence in this case. But the jury didn't buy the defense's arguments. After only 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury found Little guilty on all counts.
He admitted to selling drugs. He said cocaine and heroin is what it ended up being, but his statement is really what got us.
What about the defense's contention that he had a right to try to struggle because he thought that the officer was going to kill him?
No, we never really felt his life was in danger. Moments, yeah, but not really. We did not feel the police officer was trying to kill him.
It was disappointing. I really thought that we had generated an issue that the jury could hang their hat on.
What's Mr. Little's reaction? Mr. Little's reaction?
Disappointment and sorrow and upset about what he ultimately faces.
What this shows is that every day there are members of the Baltimore City Police Department who risk their lives for the citizens of this town, and that when they're injured, their motives shouldn't be called into question. As I said, Jimmy Young's a hero.
Well, the next step for Sean Little is sentencing. That's scheduled for August 20th. He could be sentenced for up to 35 years in prison for the crimes he was convicted of today. Stan, Beverly?
Randy, you shared with us that there didn't appear to be any emotion coming from Sean Little. Was his family there? Was there any emotion there?
Well, his girlfriend and some other people were there. We did not notice a reaction. Also, I should point out, Beverly, that Officer Young was in court during closing arguments, but he did not come back for the verdict itself. We are told he has been told of the verdict and is pleased.
And you also told us that he is in the wheelchair for life, but his condition
Beverly,
is improving.
There is certainly always that hope that he will make a full recovery, but his injuries remain to be very severe. He still has paralysis on one side. He still has a hard time seeing. His speech is still slurred. We're all hoping, everyone is hoping he'll make a full recovery, but his injuries still are very debilitating.
And he is still in therapy. Thank you very much.
Officer James Young left the courthouse today after providing some brief testimony. With more than 20 Baltimore police officers in attendance to show their support, Officer Young pointed to the place the bullet entered his skull and then said he couldn't remember any of the events surrounding the shooting. But defendant Sean Little does remember, according to a tape-recorded statement he provided to police the day of the shooting, a statement played for the jury today. In that statement, Little says he was dealing drugs on a third-floor stairwell when Officer Young appeared with his gun drawn and ordered him to get on the ground. Little says he was afraid the officer was going to kill him, that he struggled to get away, and the gun went off.
Only thing I was doing was getting away, trying to get away, and when I got away, the gun went off. As soon as I got it from under his arm, somehow the gun went off. I don't remember swinging or nothing or trying to grab the gun or nothing like that.
Little says he never touched the officer's gun. The defense claims it was Officer Young who pulled the trigger. But even if that's true, prosecutors say Sean Little should be convicted of assault with intent to elude arrest and drug violations. The initial charge of assault with intent to kill was dropped earlier this week. Assault with the intent to elude police and drug charges may not sound like a lot given the extent of Officer Young's injuries, but if found guilty on all counts, Sean Little could be sentenced to 35 years in prison. Testimony will resume on Monday morning. Randy Page, News Channel 2, downtown.
Officer Young is now back at home and continuing his rehabilitation therapy. His speech is still slurred, his vision impaired. He is partially paralyzed, but continues to grow stronger every day. The firing of the 2 guards assigned to convicted killer Dante Carter when he escaped from Mitchell Courthouse has been upheld. The state administrative law judge says because of the nature of Carter's crimes, officers Frank Beals and Irvin Curtis were careless or negligent in the performance of their duties. Back in January, Carter escaped out of a window after the pair allowed him to use the bathroom unshackled and unsupervised. Carter was later recaptured. The officers now have 15 days to appeal before the State Personnel Department can take final action. Last summer, in a series of exclusive reports, News Channel 2 uncovered shocking conditions in the houses of one of the city's largest landlords. Well, now, 1 year later, that landlord has filed for bankruptcy, and not much has changed for some of his tenants, as News Channel 2's Kim Skeen reports.
It looks like the middle of a war zone, like someone dropped a bomb on this block of East Baltimore. Who owns these rundown houses? One of the city's largest landlords, Robert William Conley, Jr. A year ago, News Channel 2 discovered the landlord was renting homes unfit for human beings when we were offered this property on Dallas Street. Today, Conley's company is still trying to rent this house, even though it's still dilapidated and dirty. Conditions in some of Conley's houses have changed very little. Just ask tenant Mary Faggart.
I got big holes in my yard where rents come at. They ain't doing nothing about that.
But Conley could lose his houses. Wednesday, the landlord filed for bankruptcy. That's good news for attorney Chris Brown. He represents dozens of tenants who claim Conley's houses caused lead poisoning in their children.
It's a crime that people are allowed to stay in business and operate properties in such an inhumane fashion as he does.
Hello? City inspectors have found hundreds of housing violations in Conley's properties since Mayor Schmoke ordered the housing department to crack down on the landlord. Right now, Conley has more than 180 outstanding violations. Yet housing spokesmen insist conditions are better, not worse.
They're in better shape today than they were a year ago, but there's a lot of room for improvement on these properties, no question.
It gets worse and worse every year.
My hope is that this will be an opportunity for somebody to come in and wrestle him out of the picture and take over the process and have somebody with more humanity running the operation.
But for now, it appears Conley wants to keep his properties. He's hired a bankruptcy attorney to put together a plan for reorganizing his business. That plan must be presented to the bankruptcy court within 3 months. Kim Skeen, News Channel 2, East Baltimore.
So far, Conley has been unavailable for comment. Baltimore housing advocates say they'll be meeting in the next few weeks to make sure tenants' rights are protected during the bankruptcy proceedings. Well, it's too early to call it a breakthrough, but a plan is on the table tonight to end a rift in the Baltimore County school system. The proposal was outlined today by Baltimore County Executive Roger Hayden. The county executive is calling for members of the school board to meet with representatives from the teachers union, parents, and community leaders.
That's what we're saying. The important thing that we have to do is put a cap on the emotion that's running rampant now. And I think putting a cap on the emotion requires that we sit down and we talk and we listen. And it's imperative that we do that.
On News Channel 2 at 5, Dr. Stuart Berger said he would go along with whatever the board decides. But the school superintendent also added the current rift is not about communication.
What's going on is that there's an honest, legitimate disagreement. And to lead people to believe, I think, that there's going to be a forum to resolve that disagreement may be leading people on to some degree.
You've seen these pools all over town and you've worried. Kids playing in the water, gushing from an open fire hydrant. Sure, it looks like fun. And in the blistering heat like we had today and expect tomorrow, everybody needs a way to cool off. But this could be dangerous in traffic and can lower water pressure needed to fight fires. Well, the city fire department has an alternative. Sprinkler attachments, which use a fraction of the water, and any adult interested in being responsible can get one for free from City Hall.
We have a controlled environment. The resident who took care of this program would actually supervise the activity of the kids. The street would be closed off. It's a much more controlled situation. We don't have the problem with water flow, which is a problem for the fire department when the hydrant is opened illegally, and everybody wins in that type of situation.
Interested? Call the mayor's office for information at 396-4875. That's 396-4875. And by the way, you may want to know that all city pools open for the summer tomorrow at high noon. Well, sporting fishermen often throw.
He sat quietly in the corner of the Benjamin Franklin Library, cane at his side. Leon Day is a man most of these students know only through history books. The man who played for the Baltimore Black Sox and the Elite Giants. A man who now visits students to talk about baseball and at this school bring Black History Month to life.
It's good and everything because Mr. Leon Day came to our school and he told us more about him.
Get to know how he really felt, and you get to let him sit down, sit comfortable, and we get autographs and nice stuff from the school, and you really get to know him.
Spend a few minutes with Leon Day and you'll find he's a man who loves the kids and loves to talk to them about the good things in life.
You know, I like to be around the kids and, you know, at least try to get their heads on straight, because nowadays, I mean, look like the world's getting mad, you know.
At a time when it's hard to get kids interested in history, teacher Joe Zimmerman decided Black History Month might best be portrayed by using baseball. The kids here love the sport, and Zimmerman was happy to hear Day could come.
I think it's so important to have that human aspect. It's taken out of the literature book, it's taken off of the videotape, and it becomes alive, living history.
If their minds can't remember, the memorabilia they take home will remind them. Autographs Day signed on baseball caps and baseball cards. And for Day, a stack of letters the students have written trying to make the baseball world see that Leon Day should be in the Hall of Fame. In South Baltimore, Valerie Devine, News Channel 2.
The city is, there you go, giving me lip service again. I'm not talking about lip service. I'm talking about what can you do for this neighborhood now, not January or February or March. I'm talking about right now.
State Senators John Pica and Nathan Irby picked the scene of last week's brutal Penn Lucid shooting for their announcement today. They want support for Pica's proposal to create a state commission on crime to funnel law enforcement money to Baltimore City. Instead, they were met by angry neighbors.
We can't get enough money in a neighborhood like Baltimore, the state of Maryland, to keep drugs out of the neighborhood. I mean, they fought for years to keep so-called communism out of the United States, but we can't keep crack and heroin and all of those other evil things out of this neighborhood.
Many people accuse the politicians of taking advantage of last week's shooting where 5 people were hit and 2 killed. Pica said the proposed crime commission would work to make sure Baltimore gets its fair share of anti-crime funding.
He's been here all of his life from boyhood to the present time. He's going to be missed quite a bit.
There's no way that he can be replaced. I found myself this morning wondering, how do you keep on coming here without seeing his face?
Because of the death, the hallways will feel empty at Winston Middle, even when students return in the fall. Yolanda Graham, News Channel 2.
Funeral services for Mr. Brown will be held this Friday at the New Antioch Baptist Church. Stan?
Tonight, Baltimore City police are looking for the gunman who killed a 15-year-old and injured her 18-month-old son. Adrienne Edmonds of Division Street was caught in the spray of gunfire last night. Today, her friends and family say the violence has got to stop.
I ain't scared, and I ain't no little girl. That's the way I feel. I'm hurt, but I'm more so angry than anything.
The help we need up here is the help that we have to give to ourselves, and that is to start turning these criminals in.
Baltimore City Police urge anyone with any information at all about last night's shooting to give them a call.
Shock has now been added to the tragedy. The mother of 6 children who were killed in last week's arson fire on East Eager Street is in police custody and waiting a bail hearing. 28-year-old Tanya Renee Lucas was formally charged with 6 counts of murder, 1 count of arson, 1 count of child abuse in connection with that fire. The only surviving child, a 7-year-old, has been placed with the Department of Social Services. Lucas was picked up on East Federal Street early yesterday evening. Channel 2's Carolyn Pursuti. Carolyn?
Beverly, the Ebony Scott Fund was set up only 2 days ago, but already Baltimoreans are showing their unique generosity. 85-year-old Jeanette Johnson was thrilled to present the largest donation yet on behalf of her church members.
In a period of, I say, 45 minutes, I have exactly $550. We hear so much about what isn't being done, but we hear very little of what is being done or what can be done.
Johnson says her church wants to make certain the little girl can be buried at home in New York. As donations continue to arrive at the Russ Funeral Home, police hope for more leads to arrive. Last night, police questioned 2 suspects from the 13th floor of Murphy Homes, but they were detained on drug, not murder charges.
But they were kicking the door out.
James Johnson was visiting family next door as the 2 men were arrested. Johnson lives in Philadelphia. He fears now for these youngsters who know a murderer is on the loose.
As far as for the kids, I'm afraid for that. Because, you know, they can't do things they want to do now. I mean, they can't enjoy the rest of the summer because of this.
Now, if you would like to donate, you can do so in person or send a check to the Ebony Scott Fund in care of the Joseph Russ Funeral Home, 2222 West North Avenue, Baltimore, 21216. That's 21216. We have that address in our newsroom if you'd like to call us for that. And as of this afternoon, contributions have topped $1,400 in that contribution-raising fund.
Okay. What's the latest in the investigation, Carolyn?
Well, police are being rather quiet about the investigation. All they can tell us what's new today is that the cause of death was strangulation. Beyond that, they're keeping pretty mum about this. They say it's a sensitive case and they'd like to keep their facts to themselves until a suspect is caught.
Hopefully that will be...
Child's body in an apartment complex dumpster. With another day in Baltimore comes yet another senseless killing. This time the victim only 9 years old.
The body was discovered in a dumpster at the Murphy Homes public housing complex. News Channel 2's Randy Page has details for us. Randy?
Beverly, around noon today, some detectives from the Missing Persons Unit were waiting in their car at Murphy Homes for some officers to arrive so they could conduct a door-to-door search for a missing 9-year-old girl. Well, one of the officers noticed some dumpsters in front of the car, and he thought while he was waiting, he might as well take a look. Inside the middle dumpster, the officer discovered the body of the missing 9-year-old girl. Police are not releasing the apparent cause of death, but they do say the little girl was murdered. Police say she was last seen around noon yesterday, which would make LaJuan Hughes one of the last known people to see the little girl alive.
When we seen her, she was getting on the elevator, and this was about 1 o'clock.
And was she with other kids?
Yeah.
And what were they doing?
Playing on the elevator.
Hughes says the children in the complex have been frightened by a strange man who's been chasing them down the hallways and into stairway exits for the past couple of days.
A man been chasing us for 2 days straight, and up and down the hallways, and I want to know why the police didn't do nothing before. Why?
What exactly did the kids tell you about this man?
That a man been chasing them. They go in the house and tell their mother whatever. They called the police. They say they called the police. Yeah. I want to know why the police didn't do nothing, until now. It's too late now.
One little girl, who we are not identifying, says she is so afraid of this man that she's having nightmares.
I had a dream when I went on the exit, this man is next, and when I looked again, I saw all this blood everywhere.
The name of the victim is not being identified at this hour because family has not yet been notified. The little girl is from New York, and she was visiting her sister here, and the little girl's parents in New York have not yet been told of their daughter's murder. Stan?
Randy, is there any indication with the way she died into what type of an attack this Channel 2's Carolyn Presitti? Carolyn?
Beverly, the Ebony Scott Fund was set up only 2 days ago, but already Baltimoreans are showing their unique generosity. 85-year-old Jeanette Johnson was thrilled to present the largest donation yet on behalf of her church members.
In a period of, I say, 45 minutes, I have exactly $550. We hear so much about what isn't being done, but we hear very little of what is being done or what can be done.
Johnson says her church wants to make certain the little girl can be buried at home in New York. As donations continue to arrive at the Russ Funeral Home, police hope for more leads to arrive. Last night, police questioned 2 suspects from the 13th floor of Murphy Homes, but they were detained on drug, not murder charges.
But they were kicking the door out.
James Johnson was visiting family next door as the 2 men were arrested. Johnson lives in Philadelphia. He fears now for these youngsters who know a murderer is on the loose.
As far as for the kids, I'm afraid for that because, you know, they can't do things they want to do now. I mean, they can't enjoy the rest of the summer because of this.
Now, if you would like to donate, you can do so in person or send a check to the Ebony Scott Fund in care of the Joseph Russ Funeral Home, 2222 West North Avenue, Baltimore, 21216. That's 21216. We have that address in our newsroom if you'd like to call us for that. And as of this afternoon, contributions have topped $1,400 in that contribution raising fund.
Okay. What's the latest in the investigation, Carolyn?
Well, police are being rather quiet about the investigation. All they can tell us what's new today is that the cause of death was strangulation. Beyond that, they're keeping pretty mum about this. They say it's a sensitive case and they'd like to keep their facts to themselves until a suspect is caught.
Hopefully that will be...
Bee Gaddy's Soup Kitchen feeds the hungry all year round, not just at Thanksgiving when it attracts attention. Like other food pantries, hers was running low on supplies because of increased demand caused by the recession. So when the downtown architectural firm RTKL decided to collect food and money for her clients, it filled an urgent need. And the groceries and cash collected came in just one day.
And basically it was just a grassroots effort in our office. That we made an announcement yesterday in the office. We put up some posters, and overnight we were able to put together more than 12 bags of groceries and over $130 in cash.
Architectural firms are having their own hard times these days, but everyone at RTKL wanted to help.
We always hear about people giving during the holiday season, but people need to eat all year long. And it was easy. Our group was very anxious to donate. We didn't have any problem with people just coming up and giving food or donations if they could.
And people from all over the city have turned out to donate canned goods and other supplies to the Maryland Food Bank, which supplies most area churches and food pantries. Dozens of bags were brought here to the News Channel 2 studios at 6400 York Road. And today we took those supplies down to the food bank on North Franklintown Road. It's been wonderfully encouraging to see the number of people who have come here and dropped off food without even wanting to be thanked. They wanted to help, and they have. I'm Andy Barth, News Channel 2.
If you're interested in making a food donation, feel free. In East Baltimore. For a while this morning, the area looked like an armed camp. Police sealed off the 1100 block of Lombard after shots were apparently fired at a group of officers following a drug bust. We have more now from News Channel 2's Terry Owens, who joins us from the newsroom. Terry?
Beverly, the siege lasted for more than 5 hours in the neighborhood surrounding the Flag House Court housing development. Before it would end, an armored car would be used to get police safely out of the area. The only evidence of the early morning mayhem today was a stepped-up police presence in the area. More squad cars were on patrol, K-9 units were out on foot, even an occasional chopper overhead.
Usually when we have a situation like this, they usually do trying to step up the police presence in the area.
Police blanketed the 1100 block of Lombard shortly after 1 this morning when shots were apparently fired at a group of officers. The shots followed a drug arrest, but police stopped short of calling it sniper fire.
In terms of a sniper situation where, you had someone up there and they didn't let up, that wasn't what we had last night. We just had someone who fired a few shots, and then it ended.
Still, Ringgold admits the officers took every precaution, including the decision to call in the Maryland State Police Department's armored car from Prince George's County. Today, few residents were willing to talk about the problems here. One man telling News Channel 2 the area is simply not safe.
At 8:30 it gets dark. You best be in the house before that. Because if the elevators is not working, you're on your own. You're on your own.
Now, Beverly, no one was hurt during this morning's incident. Police are continuing their investigation, but right now it appears they have very little to go on.
Okay, thank you very much, Terry Owens reporting from
Beverly Stan, the dead child is 18-month-old Marie Shelby Smith. We first told you about her yesterday when the girl's mother reported her missing. Today, grief-stricken relatives and neighbors could only ask why. Their faces said what no words could convey. The pain, the anguish, the terrible tragedy of a child being found dead. Police say the baby's grandmother made the gruesome discovery.
The baby was found outside the southwest corner of the porch in a container by a member of the household who found it early this morning, shortly before 8:30 a.m.
Neighbor Lonnie Howie says he was awakened this morning by a woman's screams.
And as soon as I come out,
first instinct I had was the baby was there and it wasn't living.
Because I came through here the other day and the baby was in the door and waved at me. I never knew the baby name.
As we reported, the baby's mother, 18-year-old Katrina Grimes, claims the child was abducted from a bedroom they shared Saturday night. She suspects the toddler's father, 19-year-old Francois Smith, is responsible for the baby's disappearance, but neither police nor Smith's relatives are convinced.
No one individual has by name been identified as a suspect. There are a number of possibilities. We will be reviewing and evaluating the facts and information we have to ascertain whether or to what extent the information we have been given is accurate.
That my nephew could have done something like this to his child. He didn't spend much time with her, and he didn't do much of anything for her, but it's not in him to hurt anybody.
Now, late this afternoon, police told us they have located the child's father. He was in for questioning, but no charges are expected in this case until after the autopsy is completed and an exact cause of death is established. Beverly?
Terry, do we know anything that existed in the relationship between the parents at this time that might have sparked or be an indication of trouble?
No, I'm sorry, we don't. I do know that the father was a non-custodial father, an absentee father. His relatives said he hadn't had a lot to do with the child, but as you heard Amelia Urquhart say, she did not believe he was the type to commit murder. Of course, that's up to police to determine, and we can only await the results of their investigation.
And the autopsy report. Okay, thank you very much, Terry Owens. Stan?
22.
You see, the court says it needs permission from the zoning board to operate, but the zoning board refuses to give a permit. So now the nightclub is taking its case back to court. A good evening to you. It was set up to be a place where young people could get together and avoid running into drugs and violence.
But tonight, the fate of Odell's nightclub appears to be in serious jeopardy. News Channel 2's Terry Owens has more on the story.
Odell's, the doors of the business closed, its customers turned away. That's because the city zoning board today rejected the club's request for an operating permit.
But I'm judging on the request as it stands, and the request stands for an after-hours club. And as an after-hours club, I don't think it's appropriate. My vote is no.
But an attorney for the club blasted the board's decision. Elijah Cummings telling reporters his client was being made a scapegoat for the ills of society.
If we in this city think that closing one spot is going to end the violence or lessen it, we're out of our minds.
But it was images like these that kept the club at the center of controversy. The criminal activity outside Odell's, coupled with the noise associated with late-night partygoers, made the club a nuisance to opponents such as Charles Lloyd.
You have a young man who's standing right behind you with a T-shirt that says Odell's belongs in this community.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to him?
I would say if it belongs in the community, then why don't the kids that go to Odell's be quiet on the street? Why don't they go home when they leave? Why do they congregate in the neighborhood and play their radios till 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning?
When you have a place that people go and hang out, they're gonna make noise. I mean, that's it.
Ain't gonna be nowhere else to go at but on the corner. They always trying to run us off the corner now.
Club owner Milton Tillman says the zoning board's decision could mean bankruptcy for him, but he says what's even more frustrating is that he may no longer be able to provide a place for young people to go. In Baltimore, Terry Owens, News Channel 2.
Save another youth, stop the killing. You've heard those rallying cries over and over following incidents involving children gunned down on Baltimore streets. One Baltimore man has organized a grassroots effort to call attention to this crisis. News Channel 2's Yolanda Graham has more in tonight's Positively Baltimore.
We love Tiffany. We love Tiffany. Stop the killing.
Stop the killing rallies have become too common in Baltimore City. Organizer Reverend Willie Ray is persistent and positive. He says it's not just marching in circles. It's not just holding on to false hope.
That's what marches and holding of the hands does. It makes people aware they look. Something is happening. Sure, we know that a one-day event for holding the hands did not solve a person carrying a gun or selling drugs, but at least arouse those individuals and homeowners and residents, people and citizens that, hey, look, we got to come out and do something.
Reverend Ray began the marches and vigils 5 years ago when he noticed a disturbing trend of violence involving youth and apathy among adults.
The vigils brought about community consciousness. and then people start reacting. You know, oh, that's right, I lost a nephew last week, or I did lose my son. See, everybody was really a little nonchalant or apathetic.
The 43-year-old associate minister of the Mount Lemon Baptist Church sits on the steps of his latest project, a Save Another Youth Outreach Center. Critics might say Ray is monopolizing on the pain of others to get attention.
I'm not running for office. I don't have a big church. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm very secure who I am. I'm a fourth-generation Christian.
And the next generation remains a concern. But at least there is a ray of hope at every rally. Yolanda Graham, News Channel 2.
Well, there is one man in Baltimore working every day to guarantee that. Carter Baton holds a mentoring summer camp for black males ages 7 through 11. And as News Channel 2's Carolyn Pursuti reports, Baton's Project 2000 camp is a mix of fun and hard work.
This isn't just a summer baseball game. It's much deeper than that.
Pay attention out there.
It's a summer camp, teaching sportsmanship, self-esteem, and much more.
You have to come back and tell me tomorrow what's your grandmother's name and where she was born, all right?
70 young men rotate between classes in Afrocentric studies and math, and games of baseball and basketball. It's all held at the Robert Coleman Elementary School. These adults and teen volunteers are the role models. Camp organizer Carter Baton says a mentoring program like this is a solution to the problems facing young black males.
We know who's killing each other. These young black males are killing each other every day. Let's try to grasp some of these young men and try to start helping them out. We've lost one generation, and we will lose another one as long as we sit back and do nothing. I wanted to actually do something.
Many of these youngsters, like Mike Hunt, have no male role models. Mike lives at home with his mother and 2 sisters.
I view them as big brothers, and to me, big brothers are like dads.
It's no accident that the summer camp is held here at a school rather than a recreation center. Baton said he wanted to teach the kids one more thing, and that's school can be fun, too.
They don't make it like teachers do in school, just work, but it's like they make their lessons more enjoyable.
Baton's philosophy is athletics through academics. The young people are getting both, then going home knowing they now have big brothers. Carolyn Pursuti, News Channel 2.
Strike up the band. Baltimore is ready to score big with a new football team. Today marked the opening of a new NFL information headquarters in the Gallery. This is the day when the NFL allows cities competing for a franchise to begin sales of premium seating. Club seats, which go for $700 to $1,700, and skyboxes, which sell for $45,000 to over $100,000.
The ball's in your court. We need whatever help and whatever assistance you can give us so that we can bring the ball back here to Baltimore.
And the way that we demonstrate the corporate support, the way we demonstrate the fan support, is to turn out and sell out our 7,500 club seats.
The deadline for sales is September 3rd. Already today, some were writing checks and filling out applications.
I've been waiting since 1984 when the Colts moved, and it's all I've thought about mostly all I've thought about for the last 9 years, and I just can't wait to get a football team in Baltimore.
My husband and some friends were talking the other night about getting season tickets and club seats. They all feel that once Baltimore gets a football team, that it's going to sell out quickly once they do, and this will guarantee them getting seats.
Last August, Baltimore sold out Memorial Stadium for an exhibition game to prove to the NFL a football team will be successful here. This is the next level of proof, commitment to buy premium seating in a stadium that has yet to be built next to Oriole Park. Baltimore will find out probably in late October whether we will get a football team. If the word is yes, plans will begin immediately to build a new football stadium here in Camden Yards, with completion slated for 1996. Deborah Stone, Channel 13, Eyewitness News.
A man charged with assaulting a police officer is in stable condition tonight at Hopkins Hospital. He had a plastic gun, but felt real bullets in both his legs. Now, police tell us 30-year-old Christopher Woolard was one of 2 men who tried to rob a couple of people in this park on Broadway early this morning. Somebody called police, and when the police caught the suspect, it turns out he only had a plastic gun. According to police, Woolard dropped his toy gun and began to struggle with an officer trying to get the officer's real gun. Police say that's when Officer Arthur Edmondson shot Woolard in both legs. The second man, 31-year-old Jimmy Ford, was also arrested in connection with the robbery. Stan?
Meanwhile, tonight, an elderly woman who used to give shelter to almost anyone who asked for it was stabbed to death overnight. 70-year-old Lillian DuPont was found inside her row house on West Pratt Street. A 57-year-old man who lived here part-time called police, and neighbors say Lillian was sometimes too trusting.
She was a very nice person, trusting, but she would let anybody in her house and leave her door open all the time, go walking down the street to the store or something.
So far, police have made no arrest in connections with Lillian DuPont's death, and they also know of no possible motive.